the Everything But Politics podcast.
My name is Merrick Leeser, alongside my brother Evan Leeser, and this is the Everything But Politics podcast. It is great to be alongside real estate developer, entrepreneur, and investor, Nick Sansone. Nick, welcome to Everything But Politics.
Good to be with you guys.
Yeah, it really is. We've been looking forward to this, and we admire what you and your family have built. Kind of look at you guys as a blueprint, so excited to get right into things.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Yes. So, Nick, I want to start with this quote. Just to give you some background, I'm 25, Evan's 24. Majority of our audience is young entrepreneurs aged 18 to 35. So that's kind of who we're going to be speaking with today. So here's
Cool.
the quote, Nick. In your 20s, you care what everyone thinks about you. In your 30s, you stop caring what everyone thinks about you. And in your 40s, you realize no one was ever thinking about you in the first place. What does this quote mean to you?
Well, it's spot on. I mean, I think as you get older, I'm in my 40s, late 40s, 47, you start to realize that you're not as important as you think you are. And whatever's in somebody else's mind about you is none of your business.
You were our age, right? Who, if we talked to Nick of 25, who would we be chatting with?
Man, a totally different person. Gosh, I went to law school. I guess I was, when did I go? Probably around 27 or so. But man, at 25, I mean, we grew up in the real estate business. Our father started it, and I'm one of 8. So you guys had mentioned 3 brothers, right, on your side?
Yeah, 3 of us.
So I'm the youngest of 8. So there were 5. I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and so we all grew up in the real estate business. You know, Dad had started the business from pretty much nothing. He came from a real humble background, and did his best to make sure that we stayed humble. So like we were doing hard manual labor jobs. I remember in like 7th grade, I was working for like the maintenance crew, going to all those different shopping centers in the summertime, you know, starting early in the morning and a trash bag and just walking all over the grounds, just picking up cigarette butts and just getting, you know, some of the most difficult work that's not fun. He had me basically do, and my brothers do. And as we, grew up, that was always in our mind about the real estate business and how it works and visiting shopping centers after church on Sundays. But like when I was 25, I didn't know I was going to go into the business.
Taking a quick break from the show here to let you know about Apollo Celine's newest You Can Become Anything track, out now on all platforms. Hey, you listen to this one and you just might win. Now back to the show.
And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I wanted to go to law school. I thought about maybe I was going to be like a criminal defense attorney. And when I look back at my time then, you know, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I drank a ton, way more than I probably should have. Got after it a lot on the weekends. Did a lot of things I probably should have been doing. So I was a bit of very much a late bloomer, but it's funny. I wouldn't change a thing because all those experiences, as I look at them now, they shape you. You know, you learn lessons. And I feel like in life, because it still happens now, even in business and real estate, it's just a series of mistakes that create lessons learned. And I really think the difference between people that make it in any aspect of their life, and I think of making it as, hey, you got a goal and do you get there or not? The difference between those that get there and those that don't is how they handle their failures. And so I look back at myself at 25 and I just see a kid failing all the time in all different areas of life, but it's what you do with that. And if you use them as lessons, they can create a lot of wisdom for you. So, I wouldn't do anything different looking back, but my God, I was a mess.
Was there a rock bottom moment, or was it kind of just a gradual look in the mirror and snap your fingers and I'm changing my life?
You know, man, rock bottom moments, probably far too many to count, but, I can tell you moments that like stood out, you know, that's when you look back. And I'm sure 20 years from now and I look back, I'll probably have more moments that stand out. But, I think a moment that stood out was certainly when I passed the bar exam. Like I remember I had to take it many times because I was a terrible test taker. Heck, I'll tell you, I took it 4 times. And most people, take it 1 time and they pass. I took it 4, spent 3 years studying for the bar. But I can tell you exactly where I was when I saw that result. I was in Michigan at Crystal Lake with my brother Jim. He's got 10 kids. And they were on a vacation and they took me with them. And I was in some bedroom in the house that they had rented on the computer screen, like looking for my name on the 4th time. And I saw my name and I actually got emotional because I was like, my God, I passed. And the first call I made was to my dad. And I was like, so proud that I passed that damn bar. So that like stands out for me. I'll tell you another time that stands out. You asked about like, well, when do you get things straightened out? I feel like you never really do. You just continue to get better. Your standards get set higher and then you continue to meet those standards. And then you fail and then you set them higher and higher. And so your standards just change. But another time I would say when my standards changed or, a time that's very memorable was after my dad's passing. He used to always be like, man, you drink too much on the weekend. You get after it too much. It's time to grow up. You got to do this, do that. And it was weird. After his passing, I did a program called 75 Hard where you go like 75 days where you don't touch any booze and you work out twice a day and, do a bunch of different things. But I remember at the time, it's wild. The thought of going 75 days and like not having a beer or something seemed crazy. And, but I was motivated to do that because I could hear my father's voice always saying that. I thought, all right, in honor of his passing and legacy, I'm just going to go ahead and do this program. And I did that. And it's so funny now. I mean, I can go 6 months and not have a drink. It's like, it's nothing,
Mm.
So that was another pivotal time, just getting through that. But gosh, for guys in their 20s, mid-20s and everything else, honestly, the best piece of advice I could give is like, don't be too hard on yourself and just don't quit. Just keep going because you're going to make mistake after mistake after mistake. And I still make them now. But when you make them, just keep going and don't give up.
Nick, so happy you mentioned 75 Hard. I'm on day 57 today.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I've been feeling really good, feeling diced up, reading a lot, learning a lot. And it is great. Like, I think even going forward, my relationship with alcohol will forever be different. Not that I
Oh,
was
yeah.
drinking so much, but
Yeah.
I just don't have any desire.
100%. Yeah. It's not, you don't even need to have a problem with alcohol or whatever. It's just, I think when we're younger, you just get into the habit of it's the weekend. Okay, I'm going to go drink. So the idea of like going 75 days without it is different if, college, you did it a certain way and then suddenly you just go a few months. But you're right. You hit that point where it's like, okay, this is no big deal. And you said you're in the day 57, 56?
Correct.
Yeah.
57.
So that's interesting too. That's for me. I've done it a few times where it gets kind of boring and you've like proven to yourself you can pretty much do it. And then it becomes really mundane. But I think that's a great time to be in the program because there's discipline in doing the mundane. It's like, well, gosh, right, I got to read 10 pages. I mean, I've been doing this 56, 57 days. I've proven I can do it. I got to go drink another gallon of water. But like, that's a discipline in of itself. Just doing something that you already know you've done. You already know you can do it. And it's a mundane act. But discipline is just doing a series of boring things over and over and over and over. So it's awesome you're doing it, man. It's a great program. Andy Frisella and Sal, they're buddies of mine. And it's countless the amount of lives they've changed through that program.
And Nick, speaking of pressure, being the youngest of 8 kids, did you kind of feel that pressure to live up to your dad's wants and needs?
Oh, yeah. I felt all kinds of pressure. I think that's for guys. I think that's normal, especially guys that are competitive. We We want to prove ourselves. We want to live up to expectations. We want to live up to the expectations often of our dad. So yeah, man, that living up to those expectations it can be a real motivator. I don't know sometimes how healthy that is, but that is still something that I think creeps in. Is even at my age, you know, you think about your father, you think about the expectations your parents set for you. You literally think about these things and you think if you're meeting them or not. And it's funny, I was saying this the other day, no matter how much our team and my brothers and I grow our business, I don't think we'll ever be satisfied. I think we're always going to want to continue to grow it because we're continuing a legacy that was started by our dad. And it's like, how do you put a ceiling on that? You can't. You're continuing a legacy of somebody that came before you. And, I guess the hope is that when we're not around, there's people that feel the same, that there's no ceiling, that it never ends. And that's why I say, like, whether you're 25 or 47, it's the same journey. It's a series of mistakes. It's a series of failures. And all the differences is that your standards become higher.
Beautiful. Yeah, I just put out a tweet that we should be pursuing things that don't have finish lines. So I think that's well said.
You nailed it.
Yeah. So Nick, let's
You're
move on to the
spot
next
on.
topic. Strength is the best health insurance.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. Are you talking about physical strength, emotional strength, or what?
All the above, because really they're all connected, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a great phrase. And I look at strength as resiliency. It's if you don't quit and you have the resiliency to pick yourself back up and to keep going, there is no outcome other than success in life if you can do that.
When did you begin taking your fitness seriously?
Oh man, on the fitness side, you guys can probably relate with siblings. We all played sports growing up and everybody worked out and stuff like that. So I think fitness was always part of our life. But again, like anything else, I think the more you stick with it, your standards become higher. And so, I did a half Ironman. I guess it was it this summer? Yeah, it was this past summer. Did a half marathon. I would have never done those things in my 20s or even in my 30s. And actually, I was motivated to do it because my older brother did it. And so I think we've all taken fitness serious, but it just, it goes to a different level. Like now I don't so much work out to, look good with a shirt off. I mean, that's great. But for me, for instance, like I'm working out so that I can live a healthy life as long as humanly possible. I mean, I'm working out for my future spouse, my future kids. I don't have kids. And so my father was 52 years old when I was born. So I'll probably be like in that same range, upper 40s, early 50s. And it's like, I want to be an active, youthful, physically fit father. So there's times literally when I'm in the gym and I'm thinking of my future family, like that's a motivation. So I think fitness has always been part of our lives, but as you go through life, the purpose behind it, the why behind it, I think shifts and evolves.
When did you begin thinking about longevity?
It's a good question. Early 40s.
And what prior to that was all your training simply aesthetic?
Yeah. You didn't even think about it. It's funny. People always say, oh, when you hit 40, things shift or whatever. And I'm not big on that because I don't like to identify like myself by an age category because it's all subjective. It's all on how you handle it and deal with it. But when I hit I don't know, for me, people always said this and it actually was consistent for me. I started thinking about more longevity. I started thinking about like living a long life and a healthy life. And then I think as the years continue to pack on, I think at least for myself, I think more and more and more about that. But yeah, I mean, in my 30s, it was just working out to try and look good, which is funny because I look back at some of my photos and I look like I swelled up hot air balloon, like somebody came in and just puffed my cheeks with air. It's probably
Yeah.
from all the just partying.
Well, you know what's funny, Nick? So, like I said, I'm 25, Evan's 24. Our generation, this current Gen Z, I suppose we are, is the most health conscious generation ever.
You guys are, I know,
Ever.
way more than we were.
Like even like millennials and so on, like there's so much more drinking focused, just like every part of daily life, like tough day, go get a drink, long. I
Yeah.
mean, just that's kind of like the mindset around that generation. So it is interesting, like with this age of podcasting and like all these fitness classes that come up and these like exquisite memberships, like places like Lifetime or Equinox, like it's just a different world of health and wellness.
You know, you're spot on. Like, what's your generation? You're not, what are you? You're not,
We're
you're
Gen Z.
yeah, Gen Z. And like, you're exactly right. Like the millennial and then even our generation, because I was right on the fence there, it was just heavy drinking. You know, it just was sort of how people did it on the weekends and stuff. And you're a much healthier generation. I've noticed that. I feel like um, a much more evolved generation too. It just seems like you all mature a heck of a lot quicker, at least than we did. Certainly myself. There was an article this morning. It was in the Wall Street Journal, and it talked about water becoming. What did it say? It was like water replacing mocktails. Um, the newest hangover free indulgence. Talking about like at fancy restaurants and stuff, having different selections of water and things like that. Like I just think it's a cultural shift, you know? And when we were growing up, there wasn't mocktails, there wasn't gummies, there wasn't any of that stuff. It was just, you go out and, you drink. So, but it's cool. It's cool with your generation, how much healthier you all are.
Well, one thing I will add, one of our generation's flaws, me and Evan are not a part of this, but is the huge vaping culture. I don't know if you're
Yes,
familiar with that.
I do.
Everyone vapes.
Changes too. Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
replaced cigarettes, but to not to gas up cigarettes, but at least cigarettes, you know what you're getting, right? The vapes are
Yeah.
all coming from China. They're totally,
They
who
can be
knows
really
what's in those things.
dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cause you don't know what's in. Yeah.
totally.
I've heard some horror stories on that stuff.
Yeah, and to complement everything we just talked about with fitness, it's kind of like a saying I love is like look good, feel good, play good, pay good.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All
I
right,
like it.
Nick, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Nepotism, more of a pressure or a privilege?
Define that for me, will you?
Sure.
In your way.
In my way, I think nepotism is. I look back to so we had Joe Buck on our show about a little
Yeah.
under a year
Good
ago.
guy.
So
Yeah.
Joe, the way he explained it, like everything that came his way was because of who his dad was, right? Like he's Jack Buck's son, naturally in the booth on the field at a young age, kind of given all these opportunities that other kids may not. But I think on the contrary to that, I feel so many times when you have these nepotistic situations, a lot of the kids end up, addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol because they do crack under that pressure. So I don't know if that's a good definition, but I feel like that's more a real life example. So with that said, obviously you guys have, you've taken full advantage of your situation, and you've been vocal about that through Instagram. So how do you differentiate between the two?
You know, I think that was a great example with Joe. He's a tremendous broadcaster. So is his father. I think that, when you're given a lot of opportunities, it can be a great thing and it can be a really bad thing. I mean, you can start to, it's one of the reasons why we're a family business. And they say that the third generation They say the second generation can help build it, the third generation destroys it. And one of the reasons I think that is because when you're given a lot of opportunity due to somebody else's efforts, it can make you feel entitled. It can essentially make you feel spoiled. But when you feel entitled, you have a lack of respect for other people, and you start to think you're better than other people. And I think for us, our parents did a really good job of reminding us that we're not better than anybody. And to much is given, much is really expected. And I mean, that was just ingrained in us. And I
That's a
think our
great
dad,
saying.
yeah, much as my mom always said. And I think our dad did something that was really smart. I touched on it earlier. And I don't know if it's necessary, for today's youth or whatever, but it was for us, which was for us to learn hard work at a very early age. Like when we had jobs in the summer, it was manual labor. We were working construction sites. I had an asphalt ceiling company where you're out there putting that black tar down early in the morning in the heat. And so for me, looking back, that teaches you work ethic, and it just becomes part of who you are. And our dad always used to say, he had very little education and he barely got through high school, was that he said, like, look, I didn't have any education, I didn't have any money, but I knew I could outwork the guy next to me. Like I was in control of that. So he taught us about that work ethic. And my mom was very good at always making sure that we were giving back. I remember on the holidays, we'd go to different families in the inner city. We would drop off gifts and things like that. I remember as a young kid seeing some of these kids that we were dropping gifts off to, they were my age, and saw the living conditions that they were living in, and I think just when you're raised that way, when you're raised knowing that regardless of what opportunities in front of you, that doesn't make you any better than anybody else. And in fact, it puts an extra responsibility on you. And our dad always would say, look, there's nothing wrong with going into a business that's already been established. Happens all the time. But if you go into that business and you don't help it grow, then you're not going to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say that you're a success. So I think it all comes down to how you're raised. And it can be a fantastic, fantastic thing to be presented with opportunity to walk into a business that's already been established. I mean, gosh, what an advantage, right? But it's all on what you make of it and all on how you approach it.
Nick, I love though the Instagram video of you guys talking about different majors joining the family business. When you look back on now working the family business, are there ever push come to shove back and forth who's got to make the final decision?
Yeah. I mean, push come to shove. I mean, yeah, we had like true shoving and at times wrestling matches, and kind of have a rule amongst siblings, no closed fist to the face, but anything else goes. Um, we don't have those anymore, fortunately, but we, the way we do it is now that one time there was, I guess, 5 of us in the business. Now there's 3, and we're all equal owners. So there's no president. Yeah. And it's all about collaboration. And I think that it's a tremendous formula for success if you can do it. And the if is if you can leave your ego at the door, because there's going to be times where you might think the company needs to go in a certain direction, but your 2 brothers aren't for it. Or you might want to do a certain deal, but your 2 brothers might think it's too risky, or vice versa. And you've got to be able to leave your ego at the door, and you've got to be able to think long-term. And the idea of long-term for us is family harmony is more important than anything else. There's not one deal that's more important than family harmony. And I think my brother Jim and my brother Doug do a tremendous job at leaving their ego at the door. I do okay with it. I got to keep it in check. But I think at the end of the day, we understand that we're not better than each other. Nobody's better than the next guy. And in order for our company to be successful, we have to collaborate. And that starts at the top. I mean, we always talk about teamwork. We always talk about there's no I in team. We always use we. Our boardrooms are round boardroom table because there's no head. So that collaboration teamwork starts with us. And, it's a 2-to-1 situation. If I think something and my brother Jim's in agreement and Doug isn't, we go with what Jim and I think. If Doug and Jim agree on something and I don't, we go with what they think, and you swallow your pride and you think what's best for the organization, not what's best for yourself or your ego.
On the hunt for legendary wings, Buffalo's in Bloomington, Indiana and Carmel, Indiana has you covered. Crowned top 10 wings in the nation by USA Today, our wings are a fan favorite. Dip into Mrs. Louie's famous sweet Q sauce for that sweet and tangy kick. Visit Buffalo's and wing it like a pro.
Yeah, I love that we, not me. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, we're a family of 3, right? 3 boys. Family of 8 is a lot. I mean, I can only imagine what that's like. So I just want to make a quick comment about what we were raised on is our dad constantly would say, brothers only love each other. Brothers only love each other. That's kind of been our mantra for as long as we could remember.
That's really cool. I love that. You guys have sisters?
No, 3 boys, no sisters.
Okay. And you said 2 twins, right?
I'm the oldest. Yeah. Ethan and our brother Ethan is also. So I'm 15 months older.
Okay. So Ethan and Evan are the twins.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. You guys look like twins.
You got to show you Ethan after the pod.
Next topic. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. 100%. We always say that, action breeds momentum. The more action you take, the more effort you put into it, the more momentum you get. And, you said luck. And yeah, I mean, I think luck is essentially positive momentum. And, sometimes we will we're working on a couple deals right now. They're not huge deals. Nobody's going to retire on them or anything like that, but they're good deals. And we've said it several times. We need to do these deals more for more reasons than the fact that it's just a good real estate deal. It's like action breeds momentum. Like we need some activity. We got to get these things closed out. When we do, more opportunities going to come. It's a market that we want to get ourselves into. And when we get this deal closed, there's going to be more opportunities within this market that we can go after. So yeah, that's a great phrase, and I couldn't agree with it more.
Well, I think you and your siblings were really showed that with an immigrant father who really created a successful and long-lasting business.
Yeah, he did it on hard work. I mean, if you ask him, that's what he'll say. He's like, I outworked my competition, and, he kept his word with people. And, he always took an interest in his clients and his partners, what they were into, what they liked, what they did, because he had to think of a way to have an advantage over his competition. Because again, he didn't have any money, he didn't have any education. So he was a real personable guy, had a lot of charisma, and, charisma and being very personal sometimes just comes down to understanding what the person you're doing business with is into. What are their hobbies? What do they like to do? Like taking a real keen interest in them. And he talks about that. He talked about that a lot. And then the other one is, like you guys said, just, you're in control of how hard you work, and there's no substitute for hard work, even today.
Totally. Nick, being in the family business for a couple of decades now, how do you determine when to say no to a deal? Are there any specific things you look for? Maybe something that gives a red flag?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of fundamentals within the real estate space that you look to. It's always weighing the risk of the deal versus the return. And there's a lot of different type category. There's a lot of different type of real estate deals. There's more conservative deals. There's more value add deals. Development deals sometimes will have more risk than a deal that you might buy that's an existing asset. If there's a deal that's got a 10-year lease already in place and you buy it, it's a lot safer, but the returns are less versus a 500,000 square foot vacant building that you're going to buy where you're banking on getting it leased up. So you've got to always weigh the risk versus the reward. And it really depends on the specific real estate deal itself and the fundamentals. But in addition to that, there's a certain gut sense as well. that I think comes with real estate. But if somebody was in the real estate space and they were trying to determine, how do you weigh whether to do a deal or not, which is so difficult to summarize. But the most important factor, and it's a simple point, but so true, is the actual location of the real estate. It's everything. And location, location, location. And people always say that, but it's the truth, because oftentimes how you project a real estate deal to go in your pro forma, in your financial projection, it always changes. It always changes. And sometimes things go a direction that you never anticipated, like a COVID, or a market crash, a recession. Yeah, with real estate, it is impacted by all these factors. It's impacted by what the Fed does with interest rates. There's just so many factors to it that are out of your control, that if you've got solid real estate, solid location in an area that's, growing, off intersections that have great traffic counts, the ingress and egress, getting in and getting out. Is it easy to do? Like, those basic fundamentals are some of the most important factors to determining whether you're going to do a real estate deal or not.
Yep. And Nick, I loved your video that you posted probably a month ago talking about the Fed's interest rates and what that could mean for inflation. But what do you see happening in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, we're in that watch period right now. I mean, I'm always optimistic when rates get lowered. I mean, when rates get lowered, debt's cheaper. When debt's cheaper, people have more money in their pocket they can spend. When they can spend more money, they can usually pay more for real estate. When you can pay more for real estate, values go up. That's a great thing for everybody. But at the same time, you got to look at, well, why are they doing it? Why are they dropping the rates? Well, they're dropping the rates because the employment rate, I think, was at 4-something%, which is, the highest or maybe it was approaching 6. I can't recall, between 4 and 6, but it's the highest it's been in a long time. And so they were doing that to stabilize things. So you got to pay attention to that when it's happening. As far as like the next 6 to 12 months, for me, frankly, it's far too soon for me to make any kind of prediction. My hope is that by doing what they're doing, that ultimately it's going to produce more commerce. I mean, when there's more money in people's pockets, that's usually a good thing, right? Spending increases. Even when you look at credit card debt, like when they drop rates, I mean, the rates of credit, your interest rate goes down. And so you think about people spending. When people spend, you think about even just if development increases, the amount of jobs that are provided when you do a development deal. I mean, from construction to the lawyers to the local civil engineers, the geotech guys. I mean, there's just so much commerce that can happen from a development deal. And we have seen literally within the last, I would say, 2 months, a real uptick in leasing activity. Like, we have a lot of industrial ground up development deals that we've done that are we develop them over phases. So we might do a couple buildings in phase 1, a couple buildings in phase 2. And we've had some buildings that we have been needing to lease up that it's been very quiet. And suddenly in the last couple months, I mean, we've gotten some lease proposals on otherwise buildings that were quiet for the last year. So I'm hoping that continues. But real estate guys always love it when rates drop.
How rewarding is that when,
Yeah.
this idea, the inception of this idea, and then say you have 3 phases, to see phase 1 complete, and then phase 2 and phase 3, to see all like what started out as a vision turned into a reality, and especially vertically, right? This is just what started as like a drawing is now changing the St. Louis skyline.
Yeah. And it's really exciting. It's very exciting. And the majority of the developments we're doing right now are out of state. I think we're in 37, 38 states. And a couple of the developments that we've got phased are in different parts of Texas. And it's extremely rewarding. Like just last week, we had a tremendous meeting with a tenant. And, it looks like that we're gonna move to a lease with them to take over some buildings. And man, when that happens, it is just like diesel fuel into your team. When you've got these phases and you're working them, it's a little bit quiet. And then you get a hit like that. It just, it really fuels you. It's almost like, you guys ever play golf? I'm horrible at it, but do you play golf?
We're big golfers.
Okay. So, when you like hit that drive and it just feels so good and you're like, yeah, now for me, that happens like 1 every 200 shots, but
Yes.
it's kind of an addicting feeling. Well, that's how it is with real estate. Doesn't matter how slow things have been. When you get that hit, or when you just suddenly get a tenant that you didn't expect that comes out of nowhere, and then you move to a lease, and then you get that building filled, and then you get to start the next phase. I mean, it's the same rush you get like in a sport. You get a touchdown, or when you win a game. That's what it feels like. It's one of the reasons why I love real estate. It's so competitive and it's so tough. So that when you win, it is such a satisfying feeling.
You know what? I'm happy you mentioned satisfying the diesel fuel, because this next topic complements the harder you work, the luckier you get, and also injecting the diesel fuel. So nobody cares, work harder.
Yeah. That's great. Where'd you get that from? I love that.
You've never heard that one?
No, but I love it.
Lamar Jackson said it after a game.
It's so good. Yeah.
Right. Well, and especially in your case, right? You're doing these projects in the dark, in the silence, in the dead of winter, and to see them come to life 2, 3, 5, 10 years later, like we talked about, that rewarding feeling. So when you reflect on that, nobody cares, work harder, what does that mean to you?
It really means to me ownership. Like, I think about that because the majority of our deals that we do are with, institutional type quality partners. So it's real estate investment trust, it's large insurance companies, it could be endowment funds. It's these very sophisticated groups. Oftentimes they're fund managers, and they don't really care why a deal might not be performing the way we all collectively originally projected. They don't care. You either perform or you're in trouble with it. And I love that because it's ultimate ownership, and it doesn't matter if you and your partner agreed to a certain pro forma and 6 months later, that pro forma is not being met. It doesn't matter that you guys all agreed to it. They're going to say, well, our pro forma isn't, the projections aren't being met. Do something about it. And so it's full accountability and ownership. And there's never a time where you shouldn't have that. Even if COVID happens, even if something that came that you couldn't foresee, because there's things that you can do within your real estate model to account for downturns. You can have a fat contingency in there. You can have conservative lease up assumptions, and usually when things are coming, you can see them ahead of time and you can start to try and mitigate what's coming down the line. So, and sometimes you just can't, no matter all the prep that you cannot sometimes fix maybe what unexpectedly comes. But even in that case, if you try to go to your partner and make an excuse, they'll probably just say, I don't really care, get it done. So I just think of full accountability and ownership, which we preach a lot.
How important is faith for you, Nick?
Well, my faith really impacts everything I do. I mean, that's the foundation of my entire life. And it's funny, sometimes when I talk about faith, I'm almost humbled to even talk about it because I don't want to come off like I'm some holier than thou person. And then I realize, well, wait a minute, having faith doesn't mean you're holier than thou or anything else. In fact, I mean, when you think about a church is just a house full of sinners. You know what I mean? So I think faith is more of when you screw up and when you fail and when you get knocked down, which I do it all the time. It's believing that you're not alone, believing that God ultimately has a plan. And no matter how rough it might get, maybe due to your own actions, maybe due to your own screw ups, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It's always darkest before it gets bright again. And I think faith allows one to maintain hope.
Yeah, and I think that also weaves back into when you have committed sin or done not good, it comes back to that, listen, nobody cares, work harder, become better,
You got it.
focus on being the best version of yourself.
Well said. I love that. Yeah, don't be a victim. Just pick
Yes.
yourself up and keep going, and don't have such a big ego that
Mm,
you're beating the heck out of yourself as to, oh my God, why'd I do that? I mean, we're human. We're you know, we're imperfect beings, and we're going to mess up all the time. And
mm,
so just pick yourself up, learn from it, and keep going and try and get better. Just like you said, that's well said.
thank you. Let's move on to the next one. So we have real estate background like yourself, which is I think one of the main reasons we were drawn to you. So this next topic is the money isn't in the land, it's in the improvements.
Uh, yeah, I'm going to say it's in both
Okay.
because your basis, meaning what your initial buy-in is on the land, can oftentimes make or break a deal, especially in situations when the deal goes bad. I'll give you a perfect example. We've got a deal right now. I'm not going to name the state because I don't want to be too personal with it, but we're going to develop it. It was ground, and we bought the ground, and we were going to develop the ground. We bought the ground at a below market pricing. Now, after we bought the ground, there were some things that we needed to do, right? We had to pay for some design work. We had to pay for an easement that we needed with the neighboring land. So there was some additional cost. And when you take those costs and you add them to our original purchase price, we are still below market on the land. Well, it turns out that our strategy, what we wanted to develop there, isn't happening, at least not right now. And so a backup plan was, well, we can always flip out of the land because we got it at a below market basis because our basis was much lower than market. And literally this morning, we had an investment committee over it and we got an offer. And that offer is above what our original basis is. So it's essentially saving our asses on this thing if we decide to sell. Now, we do have some opportunities still to possibly develop it, so we might. But I think that your land value is really, really important. And if you can get a below market value, that produces a lot of upside in your pro forma that you otherwise wouldn't have. And then, of course, the improvements. I mean, what you do to it is essentially the execution of the business plan. And if you don't execute the way you intended, it's going to go south. But I'll tell you, that original basis, we call it, man, if you can get that below market, you are really protected.
Now, Nick, I have a couple questions on how you guys manage your properties that are out of states. So we're in Northwest Indiana, and our dad's a developer, and basically everything's in-house. Where we have contractors, we sub some things out. A couple people that work for us oversee their projects. When you're doing a deal in Texas and other states, how do you determine who's the main guy in charge, developing the land, subbing it out to different companies? How do you ensure everything runs smoothly?
Yeah, we have 9 development partners that are across the United States. And so those are the guys that are out there finding the sites for us, finding the locations. So usually we have a development partner within the state where we have a development happening. And if not, they're close by. So they will assist with the local municipality, um, dealing with the governing bodies, assisting with approvals and that sort of thing. We always get local counsel to assist with that as well. And then on the general contractor side, we don't have in-house construction. We're developers. We outsource the GC work. We always go with a contractor that has a very strong presence there. Same with our engineer, same thing. And then from the construction management side, like we also like to manage the construction process, even though our GCs are doing that as well. We will usually get a local landlord rep that's a project manager to assist us in managing that project. And we work with a handful of them that have essentially become an extension of our company. And those guys are tremendous. And then we have in-house project managers at our central office in St. Louis that go and visit the site on a monthly basis.
What is the most effective way to connect with and meet these developmental partners that you have throughout the country?
Yeah, they're just development partners, and it's simple. They're just guys in the real estate space, and a few of them, for instance, were brokers that wanted to turn developer and wanted to leverage the relationships with tenants that they had created through their brokerage work. And so they came over on the other side to team up with us to work on the development front and leverage those relationships. And so we have, our one development partner used to run all of Collier's industrial tenant rep. Another one of our development partners ran corporate accounts for Collier's. Another industrial partner was just a guy that was in the real estate space that did everything from retail brokerage to commercial insurance to lending to acquisitions. And so I think the best way to find guys that you can leverage and help expand is through going to all of the different real estate, the networking events, whether it be ICSC, IWLA, IAMC, there's all kinds of them all over the country, the different brokerage events, and just developing relationships. And when you meet somebody that you jive with, that culturally aligns with you, that you get along with, that looks at real estate the same way you do, you start to, create a relationship, and then you end up working together. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. The guy that literally runs our entire development program, Jeff Greenwald, he and I met. Our company was looking at a deal in Indianapolis, and the broker in Indy said it was a 500,000 square foot vacant warehouse. And the broker in Indy said, hey, listen, when you come visit this building, there's this guy, Jeff, who has a background in construction. He'd be a good guy for you guys to meet. He can tell you the condition of the building, because we were buying this building. We were trying to determine how much improvements we needed to do to it to get it leased. So we went to Indy, myself and a couple brokers here at Sansone Group. Jeff was there. I talked to Jeff maybe for 10 minutes about the condition of the building, but I could tell from talking to him that he knew a lot more about real estate than just construction, and we got along well, and we had a good energy. We all ended up going to lunch and started to asking Jeff about his background. Turned out he used to be a developer. He was in construction, then turned into an industrial developer. And within 2 weeks, we had him signed up working with us because it was just a cultural fit. He and I clicked like that. He came to St. Louis like a week later, clicked with my brothers. And that's literally how we started our industrial development program, and it's now headed by Jeff. And that's just being out there, working relationships, meeting people, and then it just starts to click.
I love that. Nick, what is the biggest mistake you've made in the real estate world, and it's generally been the greatest lesson?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I can't point to one thing, but I would say if I'm looking at where I've gone wrong the most is when I've lost my cool, when I've lost my head. My father always said, lose your head, lose your ass. And whether it's working with teammates and you lose your temper, or whether it's working with somebody on the other side and you lose your temper, I think that's the biggest failure. That has been my weakest spot through the years, where I look back on different negotiations, on different people that were on the other side, and where I lost my cool, and I'm like, that sucked. That was a mistake. Heck, I had a situation last week with one of our team members where I completely lost it. I felt terrible afterwards. And it was a real poor leadership moment. But, when that stuff happens, you got to own it. You got to own it. You got to own your mistake. You got to apologize. And then you got to do something about it. You got to make sure that you got to do everything in your power to make sure that doesn't happen again. I mean, we always talk about Leadership is when things go wrong, you step up and raise your hand and you look at yourself and say, okay, what could I have done different to avoid this? No matter who made the mistake. And then when things go great, pat your teammate on the back and tell them great job.
And Nick, that is some great self-awareness. So appreciate you sharing that story. Second to last topic here. This is a very important one. Financial education and learning how money works. Where's the best place to begin understanding how money works? I know Grant Cardone talks about, Evan, what's the quote? Like, if you don't understand how money works, like, you're not going to make anything. You're not going to like understand how the world works, just given that this monetary system is ruled by the entire world.
So Cardone's probably a lot smarter than me. And I'm still trying to figure out how money works. Look, here's what I would tell you. Nobody's an expert in it. Anybody that's got it has come upon it through some good fortune and not of their own doing. And I think that at the end of the day, in any business you're in, if you focus on the money, I don't think it's going to come. But if you focus on the quality of what you're doing, the money comes. And I don't think it's any different in real estate. I think it's great to have goals. You know, you've got a 5-year goal where you want a net worth of X, or you want to be making this, or those are great. You know, those setting goals. But then after that, you know, the road to get there, just do the right thing. You know, care about your client. We always tell our brokers, don't be focused on the fee. Literally do not be focused on the fee. Be focused on what that client needs and put yourself in the shoes of the client. And if that means you got to go above and beyond and it's beyond what you think you're getting paid on it, so what? It's going to come back to you tenfold. And so when it comes to the whole money and all of that, I'm not a big fan of like chasing it, because I think it can go south quickly. All of us obviously want to be successful. We want to be profitable. We want to do really well. But I think to do so, you have to produce a quality product and you have to do things with integrity so that people trust you. And I think when that starts to happen, that money comes in. And then as far as what to do with it or how the heck to handle it, I don't know. Get yourself a professional to help you with it, because I'm no professional there.
Nick, I love how you said those who chase money usually don't have it. Similar to a quote that Donald Trump says, and also Gary Vee, which is, you got to love what you do and find what you love, and the money will flow through.
Spot on. You nailed it. You summarized it better than I could.
Well, and also what we said earlier, Nick, is when there's pursue things that don't have a finish line. If your goal is to make $10 million and then you make $10 million, it's like, then what? You know,
Exactly.
so that success that ceiling's always rising. So last and final topic here, Nick, I know this one hits near and dear given your relationship with your father and his story, and that is the evolution of the American dream. It's changed a lot in the last 50 years.
Yeah, it sure has. We were talking about this the other day. I mean, Dad just absolutely loved our country. And he used to tell a story what his grandmother told him, because his grandparents were in Sicily and Palermo. She used to say, in the old country, which she referred to as Italy, they called it the old country. In the old country, if you're born poor, you die poor. But in this country, meaning the United States, if you're born poor and you get an education, you can be and do whatever it is you want to be or do. And so for my father and for his father, the United States was a place where it was like, wow, if you just work hard, you can literally be anything you want. And I think that this American dream has changed, because when you don't have that kind of opportunity, like my grandparents and my dad's grandparents, they didn't have that. You know, if you were born poor, you die poor. And so to be able to be in this country where you had this freedom and all you had to do was just be a good person, keep your word, and work your butt off, you could literally have anything. I think that is exactly true today. I think the formula for success is really simple. Have a vision of where you want to go and do not stop until you get there. and keep your integrity along the way. The thing is that people stop. And so I think that you've just got generations now of being born into certain privileges that this country offers that I think are taken for granted because they don't know any other way. Even their parents don't know any other way. But when you think about our ancestors, you know, maybe it's your guys' grandparents or great grandparents or what have you. For some people, it's even their parents. When you think about what they went through in order to get the opportunities that this country affords, and fortunately, those opportunities I think are still available today, it's pretty remarkable. And what a blessing we have to be in a free society, even when we can just walk outside our door and not worry about getting shot, or be able to practice a religion and not worry about getting beheaded. I mean, you look at what's going on in Africa with these people that are Christians that are just getting murdered all the time. I mean, there are so many, or even just to be able to literally turn on your faucet and have water, to be able to go to a grocery store and it's just loaded with food. I mean, there's just all of these luxuries that we have, simple luxuries that I think people don't realize. And I think the American dream is no different today than it was when my father came over. I think the difference is the perception of what America is. And unfortunately, some people don't appreciate it the way they should.
Nick, that's so beautifully said. So beautifully said. And I was gonna ask you to define the American dream, but there's no need for that. You said it perfectly. So, Nick, you're great, man. Appreciate you taking the time. This has
Who are
been
you guys?
a great joy, and to make it finally happen is really rewarding. So thank you again. For anyone listening who wants to keep up with you, all you guys have going on, what's the best way to go about that?
Yeah, you know, I think probably my social media account over there on Instagram or Facebook, it's Nick G. Sansone is my name. And then our website is sansonegroup.com. Pretty easy to find us. It's just our names.
Awesome. Nick, keep kicking ass, and we look forward to doing this again.
Appreciate the persistence in getting this to happen, guys, and love your story, and you do a great podcast. I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks so much, Nick.